we had, this lifestyle in this certain town with a certain everything was like articulated, like, particularly put in place and had importance. And I watched my whole life go upside down, and like all the pieces came in back in different ways. And suddenly, we couldn't afford our lifestyle, and we ran through our retirement, and we lost everything that we owned, and we had to leave our home, and we lost our friends. And that was circling around me. At the same time, all these other things were circling. I remember having an out-of-body experience, looking at a situation, a pivotal moment in my life, and choosing to ignore that wisdom that I received. I had a conversation with my higher self, not knowing it was my higher self at the time. This is kind of profound. It can make me cry. Of every piece of our journey, we get to choose love or fear. That's the human experience, love or fear. And like you said previously, if you don't choose the highest and best, the most loving experience for yourself, for your soul's growth, you get to do it again.
I want to share something with you before we dive into today's beautiful episode. And this is something that's really close to my heart. And it's an invitation for those of you who feel like they've been doing the inner work, they've been doing the manifestation practices, the mindset work, the journaling, and they're still finding themselves in that gap, or they're slipping back into old patterning or overthinking, doubting, inconsistency. It's really not because you're doing anything wrong. You just haven't learned how to stay in your power, how to anchor in your evolved identity when life challenges you, or when you're being stretched into a higher level of purpose and power and abundance than what you've yet experienced or embodied in this lifetime. This is both exciting and terrifying at the same time. And this is exactly why I've created Soul Power, which is my 12-week high-touch group mentorship program that is completely devoted to your becoming, where you're no longer just learning concepts, but this is an embodiment journey. It's where you actually shift your identity. You anchor your identity to become the one who is living their highest timeline and their manifested reality right now. Someone who doesn't abandon themselves when life gets hard. Someone who knows how to return to their truth in the moment and live from that place in real time. Someone who knows themselves deeply enough to make choices from empowerment rather than fear. And this is the time, my friends. And so if you are ready to access your highest, most abundant timeline and to stabilize that as your baseline reality, not just a momentary experience, then this is the place for you. We stop consuming and we start living from a place of truth, of soul alignment, of embodied soul power. So I would so love for you to join me in this program. We start middle of June. The details are in the show notes. If you're feeling that call, trust in that, reach out to me if you have any questions. I hope to see you there. All right, let's dive into today's episode. Okay, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Abundance Club podcast. I've got a big smile on my face. I'm really excited for this conversation. I feel like what's about to unfold here is going to meet so many of you exactly where you are in that, maybe in that space where you can feel like something is shifting, something's awakening, that there's more for you, but you might not fully have the language for it. And I feel like it's also going to elevate your consciousness to a higher plane of knowing and remembering, because today I'm joined by the beautiful Pamela Downes, who is a multidimensional soul body healer, trance channeler, and spiritual guide who works directly with the Great Council of Light to support humanity's awakening. I mean, what a business card that is. How cool is that? Her work is all about helping people clear deep soul level imprints and reconnect with who they truly are, beyond conditioning, beyond trauma, beyond everything we've been taught about who we need to be. And what I love about your work, Pamela, from what I know of you, is that it feels like it's this bridge between the unseen, between the spiritual and the real lived and embodied experience, which is what I'm about, is this, our embodiment as well. So understanding these concepts, but being able to ground it into lived experience, because that's what we're here for, right? So
Yeah.
welcome, beautiful Pamela. Thanks for
Oh
being
my
here.
goodness. You just got me excited about this podcast. And that it sounds so wonderful. But thank you, Amy. Thank you for having me.
It's
I'm
a
happy to
pleasure.
be
You're in the
here.
club now. You're in the
Yeah.
Abundance Club. Like you're a lifetime member. Once you're in, you
Yeah.
never leave.
It's cool. Go us. I love it. But I
So
love
we're
what you
just gonna,
said about, yeah, I love what you said about embodiment because we're in it. Like embodiment is about what we need to do right now. And that's what the guys have been teaching the last 6 months. It's, you know, the intellectual part of it is wonderful. And the reading and the learning and the watching and the attending and the, the observing, all of that is wonderful. And it teaches us what we need, but it is go time, baby.
yeah.
It is go time. And it is so important for everyone to put that into play, to live it real time and to understand who they are and how they show up and to expand their presence. And we do that through healing. We do that through the journey. We do that through live experiential learning. So, yeah.
I love that. I love that. And it's like, when you say that about it being go time, you can really feel that as a calling and activation. And I just know the people who are listening to this podcast is because they've been called to it. And
Yeah.
because, and they're here with us today energetically, and I can feel that. So thank you for just being able to also share your, a bit of your journey with that. And I guess that's where I'd love to begin with. Was there a moment for you specifically when you just felt that there was this deeper calling and when something
Mhm.
started to shift and almost like you didn't necessarily know what was coming, but you knew you couldn't go back to what was? Can you speak to
Yeah.
maybe that little?
Ooh. Yeah. You're using like very specific words that are my language. So I love that. That's pretty cool for
Well,
me
our
to experience.
hairstyle is like the
Yeah,
same.
I know we're
So
like
I mean,
mirrors of each other. You're like my sister. You look like me. I look like you. But that's what I always say. And I'm a living an example to people of what this journey is like. It was, running my family, running my business, and being all the things as we all are, and going through my daily life and trying to serve and to be who I was supposed to be and be in those roles. And I was journeying through my life experience and the seasons of my life. And I was learning more and more about who I was and really not understanding who I had been or who I really was, but I was like opening up to it. And I just had like a bunch of things circling around me at the same time. Religion wasn't resonating and the world was changing and I didn't align with certain things. And,
Mm,
I had questions and people weren't giving me answers that made sense. And like, so there was all this dissonance, right?
yeah.
So this like concept of love started coming to the forefront of my existence, like, especially with God. I was like, well, if I was born into this religion and our traits are that God is love and we're supposed to, understand that the Son of God is our savior and we have eternal life and like all of the dynamics around that. And I loved that for a very long time in my life. But then I kept saying, well, if God is love, then when I die, I'm going to stand in front of God and he's going to say, you are good or you are bad, or you're going to have eternal damnation or you're going to have eternal life. And I was like, that's not loving. Like,
Mm,
I don't understand that. Like, I really don't get that. And that's where like it started breaking down. The church was going through some stuff. I was remembering things about my private Catholic school like experiences. And I remember seeing certain things and knowing, when you're a kid, things are off, but you don't really know that it's off. The word's off, but
yeah.
they make like these little imprints in you and you have these little like memories of different things.
Mm,
And I was seeing them and I was like, oh my gosh, oh yeah, that was wrong, or that was
mm,
different. And so I had, my kids were little and I had them in CCD because that's what we did. And I had the baptisms and the ceremonial stuff and the traditions because that's what we did. And that's what my traditional background did. So I did them because I felt like I was supposed to do them. But then when I really thought about it, I was like, well, I don't believe in this. And how can I bring this to my children? So I'm just putting the brakes on because I can't, I can't move forward. I can't make a decision if I don't have resonance with it. And that was spiritual Pamela and non-spiritual Pamela. It's just how I function.
mm.
So I pulled them out of CCD and I kind of made, that's like continuing education if you're not in the
Okay.
Catholic school system. Um, And I was, starting to say, well, I'm taking a break from religion. Some of these structures that have been circling around me, I don't have resonance with them. And I actually stopped eating meat. Like, they were just me making these proclamations of like new ideas and I eat meat now, but I just had these things I wanted to explore. And at the time in the US, we were going through a recession in 2008, 2012, and my husband lost his job. And I've been an entrepreneur for 26 plus years. And I had my own business, and marketing was the first thing to get cut. And we had, this lifestyle in this certain town with a certain everything was like articulate, like, particularly put in place and had importance. And I watched my whole life go upside down, and like all the pieces came in back in different ways. And suddenly, we couldn't afford our lifestyle, and we ran through our retirement, and we lost everything that we owned, and we had to leave our home, and we lost our friends. And that was circling around me. At the same time, all these other things were circling around me. And then my father, who had sort of been like this angry kind of bully in my life, not very loving or very fatherly. He was an alcoholic. Then he became sober, but he was a sober alcoholic. And then he started drinking again. He just drank himself to death. So I watched him going through losing his life. And I mean, I was having all these big moments, Amy, like everything big was happening at the same time. And there was a moment where I watched my father's life leave his body. And I remember going, oh my gosh, where did he go? I wasn't spiritual, but I was like, he's there, but he's not there. Like, the essence of him is no longer there, but there's his body there that's not animated. It doesn't have life. And like, I knew about the soul, but I really didn't understand it. And my marriage was breaking, and like my whole entire world was collapsing. And so I call it my knockdown. It was the ability to give me new eyes. It was the ability to shift my perspective. It was the ability to understand importance and labels and places and things and people and who I really was. And it was when yoga came into my life, and I was able to sort of ease the mind because I was moving the body, and I was allowing like this higher wisdom to sort of come into me. And I was, getting nudges and getting pulls. And I found Abraham Hicks. So it's a channeled collective of divine beings, and Abraham doesn't have a last name, but Esther Hicks channels Abraham. And I found her, and we had to leave our big house, and we had this little house. And I realized through Abraham, I don't know if you're familiar with Abraham.
Yeah.
Many people are. Yeah. I was beating the drum of lack. Lack. How are you, Pamela? My husband lost his job. My business is slow. We lost our home. Like, I mean, just laying it out, slathering it all over my future.
Signing up for that.
Right. Yeah. And I was like, the moment I realized that was what I was doing, it was like, oh my God, like I got to turn it upside down.
Yeah.
So I changed my talk tracks.
Yeah.
I stopped speaking of all of what was wrong, and started speaking about what was right, what was happening, and how we had the opportunity to stay in our town, which was an expensive town, and rent this little tiny house, like little tiny house. And I was able to walk my kids to school and then go on my walks and listen to Abraham. And I was able to maintain and carry my business through a recession. Isn't that the most amazing gift, where other people were losing their businesses and all their things? And I just started talking about more of like opportunities and possibilities. And I started attracting more aligned things. Certain people got off of that game board, and then new ones slowly got put
I love
onto
that.
the game board. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I started exploring yoga nidra, and I started seeing like colors and doing meditation. And I mean, I remember being in carpool and dropping my kids off at gymnastics and sitting in the parking lot and putting on like meditative music and like trying to like connect, like having that desire. And I started having I would connect with Like my father would talk to me when in my dream state. My grandfather would talk to me in my dream state. And what I neglected to say in my story was that I grew up as a musician and an artist. So I was very, and still am very empathic, very sensitive. I
Mm.
didn't know that I was all those things until much later in life. So my tendencies to connect to spirit were very high when I was a kid because I was always going to my piano, And when I sort of started getting back into the meditation, giving myself the ability to, as I said, you use those words, to hear the whispers of my spirit, to hear that calling, Pamela, like discover, try and do more, or go down this
Yeah.
road, or
Yeah.
check out this book. I was doing more and more of that. And my friend said to me, there's this thing at my yoga studio. It's called a Reiki share. Do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, like it was all about like learning more and having conversations and experiences. And she's like, there's like 5 or 6 Reiki practitioners. They work on one person at a time. And you have to wait and, lay on a mat and then you get 30 minutes. And I was like, oh, I'm down. Like, that sounds awesome. I was the last one. And I laughed because I was so glad I was the last one because I had this profound heart opening and I think I would have scared everybody out of the
Mm.
room. I
Mm.
really would have. And so when I got on the table and these practitioners started working on me, I had this welling up of my heart, this welling, and my heart chakra just broke wide open. I started howling and releasing and emotions and crying, and I had no idea what the heck was going on.
Mm.
And it was something else. And I got off at the table, and this woman came running over to me. She goes, "You're an empath. You're an empath." And I was like, "What is an empath?" I didn't even know. And then I just kept on discovering and wanting to learn about Jesus and wanting to learn about Egyptian and ETs and like Edgar Casey and
Mm.
everything that
Mm.
was vibration and energy and water and sound and frequency and all the things. I wound up meeting this woman who's a friend of my friends who own the yoga studio, and she was a sustainability expert. She worked in Manhattan. She had just done ayahuasca with the indigenous people down in the mountains, and she came back and she left her corporate job in Manhattan to start a Reiki business. And she's like, "Can you help me launch my business?" And I did marketing and branding, and I said, "Yeah." Well, we wound up doing trade for services, and she was doing a retreat down in Costa Rica on this quartz crystal mountain. And I secretly wanted to go, but I didn't ask. And I knew it wasn't time. And she said, "Pamela, would you want to do trade for the second half of this? Come to this retreat." And I was like, absolutely. So I went. And meanwhile, I gotten divorced, which was the hardest thing for me to do. And I opened up this new opportunity of time, this new opportunity of I get to decide what I want to do with my life because it's completely mine,
Mm.
except for my kids. And I get to go to another country by myself and do something exciting and different and to serve my soul's development and everything. I didn't want to learn Reiki. I didn't want to be a practitioner, but there's something pulling me to that mountain. So when I went, I learned all about the chakras. I learned all about being an empath. I learned all about energy. I learned all about me. So it was about me. And I learned that, I went on anti anxiety medicine when I first got married because I couldn't handle the energy. No one told me
Mm.
anything other than going on a script. No one told me how to manage it except for pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
And at this point in my life, during all of that, what I just told you, I pulled myself all of that off of it. I just had a knowing I needed to wean myself off of it so that could be clear. And I had done that. So when I learned about the energy part of me, I was like, this makes so much sense. And I learned about the Reiki. And at the end of the retreat, they did what they call an attunement, and they do these things with symbols. And Kelly was working on me. And when she was doing the attunement, I had another one of those wide open breaking of open of the chakras. And I went into a past life death. My head flung back. I was in like a hanging and I couldn't unlock my neck. And I was foaming at the mouth. And I was going through like, I was going through the actual
Mm.
experience of it. It was so scary. The other practitioner came over. They were both like supporting me and trying to get me out of this experience. And everybody says, weren't you scared? Yes, I was scared. But I had these moments that kept making me explore. And I knew that I was held because the universe kept on putting the right person in the right experience to
Mm,
keep me moving further down that path. And through that, I just wanted to devour more and more and more and more and more. And through that, my vibration and my frequency continued to rise. So
mm,
my frequency was raising every time I cleared a chakra. But as I started experiencing more and more, connecting to my soul, listening to my soul, alignment in my life, my frequency was shifting. And I started having like knowings, deep pulls. I would go to this place and meet the right person at the right time and the right thing would happen. It was amazing. I was the law
mm.
of attraction and I were like,
Yeah.
best friends at that point. It
Yeah.
was all working. And I saw a video. I was, doing my rabbit hole, like deep dives into like learning more and more and more and more and more. And I saw this video of this guy who started this retreat center down in Costa Rica, and he did plant medicine. And he was a hotelier. He had addictions to everything, women, sex, drugs, like everything. And he shared this story of how he did plant medicine. It revealed this molestation trauma from his grandfather in his youth. And he healed and cleared all of his addictions. And it wasn't that part of it. It was the plant medicine part of it. I just had this wah, 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 wah. You're doing that and you're going to that place.
Mm,
That's where you're going. And I was like, I'm going to go do a class 1 hallucinogenic drug by myself. There weren't people around me doing this. Like
mm,
Kelly did it, but I didn't really know anything about it. I wasn't like going with a group or hearing about it, or it was just like, this is what's next. So I started speaking it because I knew it. I just knew it to be true. And I was having experiences. I was seeing colors. I was vivid dream states. I was having like energies knock at me at night. And like I was experiencing different energies and I was having maybe like fearful experiences, but I knew it was all part of something grander and bigger that I was supposed to discover. And I wound up doing a trade with this woman, and she said, Pamela, we're doing this symposium event down in Florida as part of your trade. Do you want to come? Right? Sound familiar? I said, yeah. So I go down, and the owner of the company is in this conference room. And I went, oh my God, there he is. And I walked over to him and I said, hey, Steve, it's Pamela. We've never met. I'm working with Rayanne. It's so nice to meet you. And he turned around and he looked at me. And this energy shot through both of our heads, out our hearts, and went woo, woo, woo. And my breath was taken away. And he looked at me and he said, do you feel that? And I said, I do. And literally couldn't even look in his eyes. It was such an interesting experience. When I left that event, he called me and he said, I want to discover more of what that it was. I want to learn more. I want to know you. And he said, we talked for a while and he said, Pamela, I don't typically tell work colleagues this, but I'm on my way to do ayahuasca. And I went, oh, really? I said, I'm going to do ayahuasca. I don't know when, but I'm going to this place. And he goes, Pamela, I'm going there in November, which was like 4 or 5 months from then. And I said, no, you're not. And he's like, yes, I am. I'm like, nobody's talking about this. Nobody in my life even knows the name of this place that I go to.
mm, mm,
And he's like, no, I am. So we became really good friends. And I had this knowing. I kept hearing he's going to ask you to go. He's going to ask you to go with him. And I kept saying, well, if he does, he does. I have no control over that. And he did. And he said, I'm getting guidance that I'm supposed to invite you to go with us. You can find your way there, pay your way, but I'd love for you to be my guest. Normally, this place has like 100 people who are trying to release trauma, addiction, fear, all the things. And it's like a free zone of people. He's in this group, and one of the people on the board of this place is in his group. And it's a private event. They're shutting it down to the public. And there's only going to be 40 high conscious people in the space, 40 people who have been working on themselves, 40 people who are in a specific frequency. And I didn't have to think about it, Amy. I was picked up and I was put into this container because I needed to be here now, ready right now.
mm,
And
mm,
even not right here. It was for 2020 when the world shifted and I needed to really step into the work that I'm doing. And through the
mm,
ayahuasca, I had a week-long experience of multiple journeys of healing. This life, other lives, pulling energetic threads that I sent with my daughters when I birthed them of trauma from these other things, like so much healing. My frequency continued to rise. And when I got home, a couple months later, it was COVID, and we had all of this time.
Mm,
And my work life was different. My personal life was different. It was very quiet. We had time to be with ourselves. And I just sat every morning and I said, I want to continue what we did. I want to continue this work. I want to co-create this. I want to know more. Like, what is it that we're doing? Why am I having these experiences? And I started doing more of these past life deaths, reliving the death. These buoyant, effervescent, feminine, beautiful, loving beings would come in. And when I knew, I started putting two and two together. When they would come in, it was time to do another past life clearing.
mm,
I
mm,
mean, I recorded them all. I journaled them all. I wrote drawings. I have them all documented. But I was like a fly on the wall watching myself go through these clearings. Like, I mean, everything you
mm,
could have ever imagined, like
mm,
burning, limbs
mm.
being pulled off, drowning, water torture, everything. And I had to be like, I had to go through it. And then it was exhausting. And I did it for months, almost over a year. And through that, I cleared. Through that, I cleared. Through that, I cleared. So when I say raising frequency, it's a vibration. It's a hertz.
Mm,
It's the state in which I am. My being is my presence. And when you clear karmic trauma, you are raising your frequency, and you're getting it closer and closer to its original blueprint, to what your soul's blueprint is, which is perfection, which is a high frequency of love. And we have so many infractures, is what the guides call them, from all of our lifetimes, from all of our different experiences, from this lifetime, from moments, from experiences, from painful moments. And by working with them, I was able to get myself to a vibration to meet the Great Council of Light. I didn't know that's what their name was at that point. And the first time that they came in, it was like, vroom. It was a really high kind of like tornado sort of lightning bolt. And I remember speaking this light language. That took a long time to integrate with them because they're so high frequency, and I'm here in this three-dimensional dense body, and
mm.
we have to work and get my vocal cords and my physicality and my tone and my language and my intelligence and all these things to work in unison to make this wisdom come out.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what started. And then now this energy, DNA activation, light code activation, healing. I do so many different modalities at the same time
Mm.
because I have to be in embodiment now for people.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
channeling's wonderful, but it's not what it's about anymore. It's healing. It is
yeah,
real-time
yeah.
healing.
I
So that
love.
was a lot. That was a lot.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm understanding, and you spoke to it before about like spiritual Pamela now, and then maybe before that, right? Like before the awakening and after the awakening, and what I love about what you've shared in your journey is the way that you were schooled through that was through your embodiment
Yeah.
and through your lived experience and
Yes.
through your connection with your guides. It wasn't in you going and getting a certification and doing a
No.
course, and which is what we've been conditioned to believe, is that like if I am to do what I'm here to do, I need to go and do this course and this and this. And
Right.
it's not the way that we are, that many of us, particularly as light workers and empaths, are here to be taught and instructed. Like I was doing a little meditation on the beach the other day, and I could feel Source coming in just saying, we're going to show you everything, right? Like everything that you need and everything that you need to know. We think it's out
Mhm.
there. But I'm just interested to know, because I can see then that in essence, what happened to you, or what you moved through, was your whole new vessel was being prepared. The old one
Yeah.
had to die and to crumble, and your vessel
Correct.
was being prepared so that you could hold this high
Yeah.
frequency light that wanted to come through. I'm curious to know, because you went through that, you call it like the jolt, and for you it was a bit of that crumbling crisis, whatever. Not everybody goes through that with
Yeah.
awakening. Can you recognize that there were moments in this, I'm going to say past life, in this life, so old life Pamela, when you were aware that there were nudges or whispers that you ignored?
Very, very good question. Yes, of course. And, and there were times that I forgot about where I was so connected.
Yeah.
So there were both of them. Like when I was a kid, Jesus was always with me. And there were times I was very afraid and I couldn't reach out to anything or anyone else for guidance or help because there was fear. But he was there. Like I'd say, please, please wake me up at 5 a.m. Please, please, please. Like I have to be at this place. I forgot to tell. I'm going to get in trouble if I wake anybody up. Like those sorts of things. And I mean, 5 a.m. I was up, like,
Yeah.
walking downstairs on the clock. It was 5 a.m. I mean, like he was always there with me. Um, yes, there are moments. I remember them very specifically.
Mm.
The private ones I won't share.
Mm.
But I remember having an out of body experience, looking at a situation, a pivotal moment in my life, and choosing to ignore
Yeah.
that wisdom that I received. I had a conversation with my higher self, not knowing it was my higher self at the time. This is kind of profound. It can make me cry because you have these opportunities to show up, but this one, gave me my children. And I
Yeah.
remember having this conversation with my higher self and saying, but I love him.
Mm.
I'm going to choose to ignore that
Yeah.
because I love him. And I did. I chose to ignore it and I
Yeah.
loved him. And things were a very certain way for a long time. But then that came and showed itself up again many times.
Mm.
And it was like, you knew and you had that higher wisdom, but you chose. You chose to ignore it.
Isn't it interesting that even though here you are, it's like
Mhm.
you can't ignore destiny. I think you can like delay it and you can take some detours for a while
Mhm.
and you can go
Mhm.
down certain paths and go take the winding route or whatever, like take the scenic route. You're not going like,
Go the roundabout way.
yeah, yeah, go down there. But it's like spirit saying, but don't worry, you'll come back around. It might just be in a
Mhm.
different way, and you might just need to go through the
Yeah.
jolt because the whispers didn't land. And the reason I'm speaking to that is I just think it's so important because we all have access to this, as you know, and we hear the
Yes.
nudges and whispers, and that like spirit and our higher self is communicating with us all the time. But
Yeah.
obviously, I mean, you just proved there that you exercise your free will. This is
Yeah,
what you
totally.
have. And we have that. And our guides are here loving us anyway because they know that there's an inevitability of this. Like one
Oh,
way or
yeah,
another, you are going to come back onto this path because you've chosen this path.
totally.
Yeah.
And you're gonna do really shitty things, excuse my French,
Mm.
and you're gonna make really bad decisions that are serving you at the moment because it's what you
Mm.
want.
Mm.
And you know that they're wrong and you're going to choose to do them. No one is perfect and no one is without judgment. It's just the human experience. But those experiences teach you, they help you,
Mm.
they expand you. And you don't see them at the moment, but in retrospect, you can see them and
Oh,
understand
yeah,
them.
yeah.
You
I mean,
know,
we learn
it's
through
all,
that
yeah,
through contrast, and we have to be able to experience that to know how profound it is when we do remember. Like
yeah.
we choose to go through the amnesia, don't we, so that we can
Mhm.
actually wake up. And it feels like this awakening is happening, and you speak to this awakening, right? It's happening more and more. It feels like collectively, this is what we're moving through, and obviously, you channel the Great Council of Light to support the awakening. So for people who are
Yeah.
feeling like this is starting to occur for them, and the other thing I love that you shared was that my understanding is that spirit doesn't always just communicate to us and it always feels good. Like often it's through the discomfort, often it's
Right.
through the like,
Yes.
right? I've had that
So,
experience as well. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. You don't go on this spiritual
no.
awakening and then it's like here, you're here, and then the path's lighting up. It's like, oh, this is really uncomfortable. Right?
Yeah.
Like, can you speak a little bit to that and this because you mentioned about at the beginning of this conversation, like this is go time. We are here to awaken. But let's speak about how for you it was a jolt. For many, though, it can just be the slow burn, or it can be the slow peeling back of the layers of illusion in order to reveal who you are, who you came here to be.
Yeah,
Let's kind of
totally.
normalize this a little bit more, what people
Mm,
are maybe going through and have been
yeah.
for a while.
Yeah, it's a really good conversation because it's what I experience. It's like people from all over the world send me messages, comments, posts, shares. Like people are going through it right now. They're not
Yeah.
understanding how to navigate through it, and they feel alone. And I often say, like, first of all, you have to have empathy and compassion for yourself because we are having a human experience, right? And every single moment of every piece of our journey, We get to choose love or fear. That's the human experience, love or fear. And like you said previously, if you don't choose the highest and best, the most loving experience for yourself, for your soul's growth, you get to do it again. And so have compassion for yourself. No, you're doing your best and it's okay. And, the universe, you might learn your lesson. You might think you learned your lesson and you say you're never going to do that, make that decision and engage with that kind of person again, do that kind of work again, make that choice again, whatever it is. You say that, but it's by action that you get to choose it. And the universe will go, oh, yeah, okay. Here's a little carrot.
Yeah. Let's
Show
see.
me.
Let's
Show
see.
me. Yeah, show me that you want that. Show me that you truly want that. And then you get to do it. And it's an energetic conviction. I can say, I've been on this journey for a while now, very deeply in it since I came out of the spiritual closet in 2024. And I managed two companies at the same time. Didn't really come out until 3 months ago. I sold my marketing firm and I'm fully into just leading a spiritual work 100% of the
Yeah.
time. So, it's a big,
Congratulations.
thank you. It's a big deal, right? But we have, my point in saying that is, if you're in the beginning phases, you're seasoned in it, and who knows what's coming down this path. It's not an end. There's no finish line, right? I guess the finish line is you transition from this three-dimensional reality, but in this lifetime. But you still get to make these choices. You still get to, they're more meaningful or more profound or more on purpose with your work or more aligned with your relationship or more substantial for humankind's experience or whatever. Just take one step at a time and try and choose from inside of your body. Give your body a chance to feel into it. And if you are just really terribly, 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 terribly scared about a decision, try to find what the root of that fear is.
Yeah.
Try to understand it and just do your best. If you can't deal with that, then try to alleviate some of the fear in other places of your life. Making better choices with other things. Like we get to do this. Some of the larger, hardest things that I did in the beginning of my journey, like leave my marriage. I know that and ending my marriage, the contract was over. I know that that was a pivotal moment in my spiritual awakening journey. I know that going and sharing my predictions and my messages and my videos, I didn't want to do it. I was doing it inside of my little cushy community where people wanted to see and receive all that. But when I heard it's time,
Yeah.
get out there and start talking, I was like, I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to. I'm afraid. I'm afraid. How will this affect my family, my friends, my daughters, my ex-husband, my colleagues, my clients, how will I be received? And that's ego, but still it's me. It's who I have been all
Feels
these
very
years.
real, doesn't it? It feels very real when you've got people around you
It's
and
very real.
yeah.
Yeah. So my point is in the beginning stages to now until whenever, these are the things that we kind of push through to evolve and expand our consciousness. Getting out on stage and having to sing, to be a performer and to really be authentically who I wanted to be. I've done it. Amy, like I continually would do it to push through fear. I didn't know why I had to join a band. I didn't know why I needed to push myself to get out on stage. I didn't really understand why. It was to help me now. It was to help me now to stand in front of people, to speak in my power, to sing, to use my voice. I had a custom star person suit made because I was singing David Bowie, and I walked out in this metallic bodysuit with a mohawk, and like I know it's so cool, right? But I like that was hard for me to walk out in that, but it was a vision that I had, and like so. This is a vision, although it's like a different and more aligned with my soul's purpose vision. But these are all steps on your path moving forward, and they're all important.
Yeah.
They're all important.
Yeah. And when you share it like that, you really see the way that the divine weaves through your life, like the guidance when we can really learn to surrender and trust in that. And I want to talk about intuition for a moment because I get a lot of people coming into my space, and I'm sure you do as well, wanting to deepen their intuition and and their connection with their guides and their guidance team, and yet struggle to trust
Mm-hmm.
themselves, and
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to bringing through the messages, they second guess themselves or wondering if they're making things up or if it's fear or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So can we open up this space a little bit just to
Mm-hmm.
see, what do you see that's really underneath that lack of trust in our intuition, and how can we begin to actually trust what we're receiving? And for those who are wanting to be more of a channel for that higher wisdom, or feeling like that's part of their soul curriculum, like what do you feel is often standing in the way?
I think it's fear and being ridiculed and making mistakes. And
Mhm.
I often say to people, like, if you're trying to learn an instrument, you're trying to learn a language, you're trying to paint a picture. Like, you have to make the strokes, you have to learn the notes, you have to, say the words, flex the tenses, put the words together. Like, you have to try.
Mhm.
And with intuition, it serves you. It's a really wonderful, badass tool that is a part of who you are. Not to mention, you have all kinds of other tools inside of your body that no one ever told you about, right? That you're about to discover because you're going to
Mm.
start using your intuition. It's a muscle that you flex. And when you start just allowing it to even have a place on the table, like to even have a space to be considered, you're going to start seeing it. You're going to see the evidence of it present itself
Mm.
when you let it have some space. And then you're going to go, oh, oh. And then you give it more and more of a hierarchy within your life, within your decisions, within your daily everything. um it's funny, Amy. We often have to be perfection. We're told we have to look
Yeah.
the right way. We have to wear the right thing. We have to say the right thing. We have to show up the right way. Have the right car, the right zip code, the right bag, the right shoes, the right everything. I mean, like, it's in your face
Mhm.
24/7 with influencers and links and
And you don't do anything unless you know that you have
yeah,
all of that, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
right. And it's
yeah.
like, just let yourself do something different. Like, try
Mm.
to be unique, and because you are. So I remember when I first started to let my psychic stuff try to be present, or like use it as a tool, I would be in the supermarket and I would be like getting apples or something. No joke. This is 100% true. Getting apples, and like there's a woman near me and I look at her and I'm like, teacher. And I'm like, oh, she's a teacher? I'm like, is she a teacher? Works with kids. And I'm like, did I make that up? Was that for me? Was that like, where did that come from? Right. And then I decided to I walk up to strangers anyway. Like, that was no problem. I start talking to somebody, but I would be like, excuse me, I just have a quick question. Are you a teacher? Oh my gosh, yes, I teach kindergartners. Like, I would
Mm.
do that. I still do that.
Yeah.
We'll be out to dinner and someone's eyes will just be like, and I'll know they're a healer, an artist, a writer, one of the above empathic kind of professions. And then I'll start getting information about them. Oh, your heart is hurting. And I'll
Mm.
say it, and my beloved's like, can we just have dinner?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I try not to do it too much, but I say that because it's like, do it.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
try
use
it.
it, use it.
Dinners, do it with strangers in the supermarket who you'll
Yeah,
never see again.
yeah,
Half the
yeah,
time people like it. They
yeah.
like to talk to you.
And then once
Yeah,
you start to, what I find is that once you start to take the action, it's like it opens up more for you. Once you start
yeah,
to do it, it's like, spirit collaborates with you.
it
And
does.
and for people, when, obviously there's a lot of different ways that we can receive guidance, like whether it's connecting directly to source, your higher self, or working with
Mhm,
your own spirit guides, or
mhm.
calling in an ascended master or archangels. You obviously channel the council of light. Like,
Yeah,
I'm curious, when someone's beginning to open themselves up to receive guidance, do you feel that they need to understand where their guidance is coming from, or whether to
mm,
specifically call on their guides or their angels? Like, what's a great starting place initially, and how do we? Is it is it important to know who it is that we're speaking to? I mean,
yeah,
obviously, we need to have the intention that we're bringing through the highest light,
yeah.
or does it not really matter?
Excuse me.
Mm.
I believe that depending on where you are in your journey, and people are having rapid expansion. So they're like pulling in and having all kinds of experiences. And they're like, what the heck? And,
Mm.
some people can recognize it immediately. But if you're starting with baby steps, I always say that you have a team around you. If you don't believe in angels or whatever the terms are, then call on like your grandmother that you loved. That was like your best
Mm.
friend. And she's there. She's probably your biggest helper or whomever. Call on a deceased loved one. Call on the guidance. If you just believe that you have one, if you're coming from religion and you can identify with Archangel Michael or whomever, like you have feelings about certain beings. I've always been connected to Jesus, right? Ask me about an Archangel Michael came in the picture when I started my awakening journey. But like I grew up Catholic. I really didn't have resonance with anyone except for
Mm.
Jesus.
Mhm.
Even God, I felt like this man on a chair is like, I don't understand that.
Mhm.
But Jesus was my friend. He was my pal. He was like my best friend. Actually, God, I feared because I knew God was always watching me, or my deceased pop-up was. But ask, ask your team, ask who feels in alignment with you, ask them to show you signs, ask them to intuit you. If you don't know what that means, it means just kind of like feed you little nuggets of information at
Mm.
the right time when you need it. Don't ask for a rainbow or a cardinal or a butterfly. Be more intentional than that.
Yeah.
Like, show me, like, you can, like, they're there. They have a soul contract to support you.
Yeah.
So if you want to just say, my guides, the highest and best intention for me, intuit me, give me guidance on show me a sign, help me meet the right person for this project. Like make it intentional.
Yeah.
Really think about what it is you're doing in your life. So if I right now am wanting this new thing that I launched I want all the people to come. I'm asking all of my guides to support this work to help these people find their pathway to this place that I've created for them so they don't have to be alone. Or if I'm on a walk, notice them too. Notice them
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
because there's a red-tipped hawk that always follows me everywhere I
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
And so when I'm thinking, oh, I'm thinking of all these new things. So I hope you don't mind me. But when you're thinking of something and you see something, like it's your job to put the dots together too, to connect them.
Mm.
Um, the guides in the beginning, when I started my spiritual awakening journey, showed me angel numbers like you wouldn't believe. Like
Mm.
every freaking time I walked in the room, 111, 2, 2, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 11, 11, 12, 12. Like it was nonstop. And I started taking screenshots, and my whole photo library was like my same screen over and over and over again.
Mm.
Their winks, their universe
Yeah.
winks,
Yeah.
winks from your
Is
spirit
the
team, from your
confirmation.
guides.
Yeah.
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 And if
Yeah.
you need to see them to realize it, to remind you, take the pictures, have a notebook, write it down, make your own little support thing for
Yeah.
yourself so
Yeah.
that you realize it and see it as real, as proof. Because
Yeah.
we as three-dimensional beings always need some sort of evidence. It's just how we function.
It's so important, right? It's so important to know that we actually
Hmm.
have this partnership, that it's here for us, that we're not meant to
Yeah.
go through this journey alone, that we're never
Um,
actually are alone. And as you said, like to us to be in communication, like there's not a day that goes by, like multiple times a day, where I am in communication with my guidance team. I'm in communication, like I see them as my business partner, as like my
yeah.
partner in life. It's not like I'm going through this. It's like we're going through this. Okay, how are
Yeah.
we moving through this? Show me what the
Yeah.
next step. What do you want me to do? What can I hand over to you? Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you take care of that? And just continuing to affirm that. So I just think it's so important. I'm super mindful of time, Pamela. I love this conversation, but I would love
Thank
to
you.
just know. I could talk to you forever. Where do you feel right now? What do you feel this ascension journey that we're on is really inviting us into, like right now? Like, what is the bigger kind of deeper calling on a soul level? Any kind of message that you want to bring through around that, because I think that that's
Yeah.
just relative to right now.
Yeah. So right now we're going through a tremendous shift. You all feel it. You all see our world unraveling. So I put out production videos every year in the beginning of the year, and I do energy updates every month. And there's this natural progression that's happening with our world. And they're not doom and gloom, but they are preparing you to understand your place in the world. You are frequency. That's all it is. Basically, we are 100% frequency. We are putting out a signal into the universe. It is your job right now, right here and now, to get your signal straight, baby. Get your house in order. Stop screwing around. Stop wasting time. Stop. Put yourself in high regard. I say this so often, like, here you are. Put yourself in high regard. How are you treating yourself? How are you showing up for yourself? Are you sitting on your social media doom scrolling and involving yourself in all of these narratives and conversations and positioning statements and pinning and pointing yourself against others? It's not necessary. Stop doing that. We are told what to believe. We are put in positions to fight, to argue, to have contrast. We have this world that is beautiful around us. We also have these dynamics of energy, of forces around us that are telling us how to think, how to be, how to act, how to fight, how to do. And it's our job to break out of that, to get ourselves out of that and say, I am a powerful, dynamic creator being. I am not a fool for this.
Yeah.
I am not succumbing to this. I am in charge of my existence. I create my reality. And the guides talk about the world could be falling out around you. Like there could be bombs going off anywhere. I mean, anything could be happening. And they talk about the the gears on a bike. And if you are leading with your soul, with your spirit first, and the body behind, no matter where you are journeying, you will always make the right turn, the right direction. You will do a wheelie. You will do
Yeah.
you'll turn left. You will be fine.
Yeah.
But when that soul is leading you, that's working from the highest frequency of who you are. And how do you do that? Like I said, there's people in your life that maybe are bringing you down. They're not the highest frequency. You don't enjoy being around them. You feel like you have to serve them. You're not here to serve anyone but yourself and your soul, number one. And so get really clear about what you're doing. You meeting other people's expectations because you feel like you have to. You don't have to go to everything. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to attend everything. If you want to be quiet, if you want to be intentional, that's your right.
Yeah.
Like all of the things, just every bucket of your life, draw it on a
Opposite
piece
of
of
what we've
paper.
been told, though, right? Opposite of what we've been
Yeah.
programmed in. And I think on this journey, yeah, you might feel guided to put some of those boundaries, to have those difficult conversations.
Yes.
There's going to be a part of you that doesn't want to do it. But when your soul's guiding you, it's just like trusting that all of this here is for me. So it's so beautiful. Soul embodiment is the way, really, first and
It totally
foremost,
is.
remembering who you are, emerging with your soul, and letting that
Yeah.
aspect of you we've been so used to our conditioning leading, right? Like in fear leading. I say,
Yeah.
you get fear out of the driver's seat. Doesn't belong there.
Yeah. You just made me want to sing a song. Like I just heard lyrics.
Feel
Remembering
free
who you
to.
are, emerging. You just said it. I'm gonna have to watch it and find it. It was so good. It was like lyrics to a song. It was beautiful. But it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. And doesn't that feel good? Doesn't that feel good? Yes.
And I
Feel
love
it.
that you said that, feel good. Like we haven't been taught to follow our joy, and that actually life is meant to feel good, regardless of what you're seeing and what's going on around you. This defies logic. Like allow yourself to feel good,
Right.
follow that joy, because that's your compass, right?
Yeah. Right. Imagine that. Feeling
Yeah.
good, enjoying your life. Wow.
Wow, how radical.
Wow.
So good. I've so loved this conversation, Pamela. Let us know how people can get in touch with you if they want to join your world.
Yeah, you're so sweet. So my community that I created, I didn't even tell you about that in 2020. I was told to create a community that people would need a safe place to land. I launched that in January 2024. It's called Spirit Calling. So if you go to spirit-calling.com/the abundance club, there is all kinds of free resources for you and tools. You can learn more about me. And I have a community. I have all these different ways that I can serve people in different levels of their spiritual awakening journey. I just launched a spiritual assessment, so you can do that and see where you are. It's the coolest thing ever. And then all of my social channels are Spirit Calling Pamela. So I put out monthly updates and messages. And when I receive visions and downloads about our world and current events, I only do it when I receive them. I don't do it for clicks and likes and algorithms.
Yeah.
I do it when I receive them. So I'll get woken up in the middle of the night and I'll see visions and I'll share them. So I put them out on my YouTube. So most of my stuff is over there.
Beautiful.
But thanks so much for having me. And I loved our conversation and your energy. You're so beautiful. It was really fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
likewise. It's so great. I love it. There's sometimes it's just a conversation that just flows and you could just stay in the energy for
Yeah,
ages. So I love that.
totally.
I'll put all those details as well in the show notes. So
Okay.
thank
Excellent.
you so much.
Thank you.